All right, welcome. Hi, everybody. It's sixth grade. Y'all are in my spare junk room, playroom, whatever. And luckily, we had a dry erase board there, so we get to work from home. So today we are doing lines, segments, and rays. So I'm hoping that you've seen this before and you just needed to be reminded. But if not, I'll go over it slowly. And if it is, you can just fast forward. So a line goes on for infinity. A line has two arrows on each end. And although it might have dots in between, you can see it like this, or with the two dots, it doesn't matter. But the way that you'll be seeing it for right now, you'll see two dots in the middle, but again, both of them have dots on the end. And how we name them. So you all have names and you can spell them. Well, lines have names also. So if we have this, and we have dots, there are two ways to name this one. You would write it like this, RS or SR. The reason that you can name this back and forth is because the arrows are on both sides. So you could have started, we don't know which way because it's an infinite line and a line is infinite. We don't know which way it's starting. So it could be line SR or line RS. So if they said, what is the name of this line? Either one of those is correct. Now, a segment. So think about a segment. This is kind of morbid, but when I think of segment, I think of like in biology, we would cut things, animals, into segments. And so a segment is something that is a stops. It has no arrows on it. And so, sorry, this is a segment. So a segment has endpoints. It does not have any arrows. And so the way that I remember it is a segment starts with an S and stop starts with an S. So a segment has two stop signs on the end. So if you wanted to name this, so a segment can be really big, but if we want to just name it, the way that we name it is, it doesn't actually have to have a dot. You just write, sorry. So if we have a huge segment here, and it's A on one end and B on the other end, we would name it by just writing A, B, and a little segment on the end. Notice the difference on this one and the last one. The last one we have little arrows on the end because it was a line. A line has arrows on the end. So we put little arrows on the end. A segment does not have any arrows. So we just write this little slice kind of on top with nothing. And then a ray. A ray has one endpoint and it goes on indefinitely in one direction. So it has an endpoint and a line going in one direction. So it looks like this. Again, you'll see it sometimes written like this, or you might also see it like this. Both of those are rays because we have an endpoint on both sides, on either side actually, and then we have a line, I shouldn't say a line, but it goes on indefinitely in one direction, but it kind of looks like a line, so that's why I wrote a line. So, and a way to remember a ray is that if you think about it like a sun and it has rays coming out of it, those look like rays that we have here. So a sun ray looks like a ray. And so how you name a ray, now a ray is different than a line or a segment. A ray, it depends on how you write it. So if I have this ray, and let's say it has a C and a D on it. So we start with the end point. So I would write CD, and see how the arrow is pointing in the direction of D? So my arrow, when I'm naming it, also has to be going in the direction of D. So this would not be correct. Like let's say you called it DC. That is not correct because this one has the arrow going above C and it does not have it up here. So for a line, it didn't matter because we had arrows on both sides. And for a segment, it didn't matter because we had stop signs on both sides. But for a ray, because one has a stop sign or a dot or an endpoint and one has an arrow, it matters. So to summarize that, if I have this line and it's called AB, we name it AB with little arrows. And it doesn't matter how you write that one. A segment has two stop signs. So we just write it CD or DC because they both had endpoints. But a ray is particular because it has an arrow going in one direction. So when you name it, you need to show which direction the arrow is going. So if I were to write GF, the arrow is above the F, so when I name it, the arrow needs to be above the F. So that's line, segments, and rays. Now we're going to do angles, naming angles. And if you're following along, I'm in lesson 10.2 of your textbook. So first, let's go over, I'm going to go over this really quickly because I'm assuming you all have done it. Acute, right, and obtuse. Acute is an angle that is less than 90 degrees. A right angle is just right. It equals exactly 90 degrees. So we're comparing them all to a right angle. An acute is less than 90, right is exactly 90, obtuse, someone that is obtuse, really full of themselves. So the big ego. So obtuse is larger than 90 degrees. So whenever you're trying to name an angle quickly, you're just comparing it. Does it look bigger than a right angle? Is it stretching farther? Or is it scooching more in an acute? Now, one angle that you may not be familiar with is what's called a straight angle. A straight angle looks like a straight line. And a straight angle is equal to 180 degrees. So this is just a quick summary. Acute, right, obtuse, and straight. Hopefully you're familiar with all of these, and if not, you can go back and compare them. So if I had a 54 degree angle, 54 is smaller than 90, so that would be acute. If I had a 108 degree angle, since that's bigger than 90, that's obtuse. And if I have exactly 180, then that's straight. If I have exactly 90, it's right. And again, I'm sorry if I'm going quickly on this because I'm assuming you all are familiar with that. So now what the new part is naming angles. Okay. So to name an angle, if I have this large angle, okay, and I want to say, what is the name of that angle? There is a specific way in to name them. Now, first of all, let's talk about what kind of angle is this. Hopefully you are saying obtuse, that this is an obtuse angle because it looks bigger than 90 degrees. And so there's 3 different ways to name them, and it's very specific. You have to name them in the order that the letters are written. So that means, so we write a little mini angle sign, and it's B, A, C. Another way, because we don't know which way you're starting, you could also go this way, C, A, B. Now I wonder if anyone can think of the 3rd way to write an angle. Hopefully you are thinking by the central angle, the one in the middle. Those are the 3 different ways to name an angle. Now I could not, these are the good ways. The one that I could not do is I couldn't call it like ACB. That would be wrong. ACB, that would have to be ACB. The way that you write your letters is the way that you write your angle. So let's do another one. That's an L, P, and an X. So the first way is LPX. So I write a little angle sign, L. Oh my gosh. Wonderful. Sorry about that. Can y'all see? Okay. So where I was L, P, X. The next way is X, P, L. And the next one is the one angle that's in the middle, the one where the V comes together. So that is P. So those are the ways to make to name an angle. Lastly, I want to go over, let's say I give you the name of an angle and you have to write an angle. So let's say I gave you angle ABC. And you have to actually write an angle. So let's say I want you to do a right angle, and it's ABC. So I'm going to write a right angle. A right angle just looks like an L, a perfect L. So there's a right angle. And then to name it ABC would be A, B, C. And that's it. Again, you are going in the order. If I have ABC, I'm going ABC. I could also call this CBA or B, but it definitely is ABC like was asked. All right. I hope this helps. Message me if you need any help.